The Pentagon is rolling out new press restrictions just days after a judge ruled that its policy toward journalists was unconstitutional. The Pentagon's response to the judge? Closing the area of the building known as the Correspondence Corridor, which reporters have used for decades, and moving them to an annex facility outside the building instead. A spokesman says it's the only way they can ensure security. And from now on, journalists will need to be escorted by Department of Defense personnel in order to access the actual Pentagon. Joining us now, Elise Jordan, co-host of MS Now's The Weekend Primetime, and former aide to George W. Bush's White House and State Department. It's always good to see you, my friend.
So, thanks for having me.
The Pentagon cannot adequately manage security for the Department of Defense with working press inside the building. So they can do it in the White House, not the Pentagon?
Well, it is just absolutely preposterous. What they are screaming for is not security, it's ideology, as we've already seen. And let's just go big picture here. We are in a war. We are in a war that has not been authorized by Congress and that President Trump has given us very limited information about, and certainly has not explained to the public satisfactorily why it is in our national interest. This is a move to keep information from American taxpayers about the sons and daughters that they are sending to war and about how their taxpayer dollars are being spent to bomb in a country that we have not authorized military action in, and going to add to the debt for their grandchildren too. So we need full accountability here. And this is just a dumb excuse and yet another reason for the, Hegseth and his cronies to try to restrict access because they don't like what the actual story is. What are they trying to hide here?
Well, the National Press Club, to your point, issued a statement that said, quote, independent reporting on the U.S. military is not optional. It is essential to accountability, transparency, and public trust. Any policy that curtails that access should concern everyone who values a free and informed society. And yet what we've seen in the stuff that they have been able to report, and in fact that have come out of the mouths very publicly of the key people involved, including the president, Pete Hegseth, are contradictory statements that don't hold up under scrutiny. So are courts the only recourse now?
Well, and I think so. And you look at the judge and in the ruling and how harsh the ruling was and saying, essentially, in other words, this is just an effort of propaganda on their behalf. And so you look at that was a pretty big clapback, and they're going to keep trying these measures. But, ultimately, Chris, I just want to say it's definitely with no uncertain question going to backfire. I remember when my late husband, Michael Hastings, was not allowed on military embeds back in the early, I guess this was 2010, and sources came out of the woodwork for him. And that's been happening for so many other Pentagon reporters who there are men and women who are members of the military, who are civilians working at the Pentagon, and the information and the stories that need to come to the American public are going to get out. And this is just a really dumb restriction that it shows the level of thinking that is behind Hegseth's press operation.